Center for Digital History is the Washington Library's home for digital research, scholarship, and public history centered on the Revolutionary and founding eras. In collaboration with partners at Mount Vernon and beyond, the CDH seeks to expand knowledge about early America through digital projects that inform new scholarly research initiatives and teaching opportunities. Heroes have made poets, and poets heroes. When one side only of a story is heard and often repeated, the human mind becomes impressed with it insensibly. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray, but almost blind in the service of my country. I am particularly obliged in your favor of the rum out of your own private store. I shall always remember my duty in drinking of it, and then your honor's health can never be forgot. Still I hope I shall always possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. For I love to indulge the contemplation of human nature in a progressive state of improvement and amelioration, and if the idea would not be considered as visionary and chimerical, I could fondly hope. System in all things is the soul of business. To deliberate maturely, and execute promptly is the way to conduct it to advantage. With me, it has always been a maxim, rather to let my designs appear from every post is honorable in which a man can serve his country. Having now finished the work assigned me, I retire from the great theater of action. One of the expedients of party to acquire influence, within particular districts, is to misrepresent the opinions and aims of other districts. To be prepared for war is one of the most effectual means of preserving peace. A good moral character is the first essential in a man. It is therefore highly important that you should endeavor not only to be learned but virtuous. The situation in which I now stand, for the last time, in the midst of the representatives of the people of the United States, naturally recalls the period when the administration of the present form. A people unused to restraint must be led, they will not be drove. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. Unless someone pops in, unexpectedly, Mrs. Washington and myself will do what I believe has not been done within the last 20 years by us, that is to sit down to dinner by ourselves. All see, and most admire, the glare which hovers round the external trappings of elevated office. To me there is nothing in it, beyond the luster which may be reflected from its connection with a power. I shall expect you will confine yourself to your studies, and diligently attend to them, endeavoring to make yourself master of whatever is recommended to, or required of you, the hours allotted for. The time is now near at hand which must probably determine whether Americans are to be freemen or slaves, whether they are to have any property they can call their own, whether their houses and farms. Love is a mighty pretty thing, but like all other delicious things, it is cloying, and when the first transports of the passion begins to subside, which it assuredly will do, and yield, oftentimes too, it is infinitely better to have a few good men than many indifferent ones. There can be no greater error than to expect or calculate upon real favors from nation to nation. At length, my dear Marquis, I am become a private citizen on the banks of the Potomac, and under the shadow of my own vine and my own fig tree, free from the bustle of a camp and the busy scenes of public life. 'Tis well. Washington's last words, as recorded by Tobias Lear, in his journal, Saturday, December 14, 1799. For happily the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that they who live under its protection should demean themselves as good. It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. I will not give up the hope of seeing you at Mount Vernon, before I quit the stage of human action, the idea would be too painful. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind than on the externals in the world. I retain an unalterable affection for you, which neither time or distance can change. He consideration that human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected, will always continue to prompt me to promote the progress of the former, by inculcating the practice of the latter. Few men have virtue to withstand the highest bitter. For myself, the delay may be compared to a reprieve, for in confidence I can assure you, with the world it would obtain little credit, that my movements to the chair of government will be accompanied with. Something is due to the man who puts his life in his hand, hazards his health, and forsakes the sweets of domestic enjoyments. In short, the ministry may rely on it that Americans will never be taxed without their own consent, that the cause of Boston, the despotic measures in respect to it I mean now as and ever will be considered. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth, and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity. My brave fellows, you have done all I asked you to do, and more than can be reasonably expected. But your country is at stake, your wives, your houses and all that you hold dear. You have worn yourselves. Without virtue and without integrity, the finest talents of the most brilliant accomplishments can never feign the respect or conciliate the esteem of the truly valuable art of mankind. While we are contending for our own liberty, we should be very cautious not to violate the rights of conscience in others, ever considering that God alone is the judge of the hearts of men, and to him nothing is a greater stranger to my breast, or a sin that my soul more abhors, than that black and detestable one, ingratitude. At a time, when our lordly masters in Great Britain will be satisfied with nothing less than the deprivation of American freedom, it seems highly necessary that something should be done to avert the stroke. I shall not be deprived of a comfort in the worst event, if I retain a consciousness of having acted to the best of my judgment. There is a destiny which has the control of our actions, not to be resisted by the strongest efforts of human nature. Remember that it is the actions, and not the commission, that make the officer, and that there is more expected from him than the title. It is with pleasure I receive reproof, when reproof is due, because no person can be readier to accuse me than I am to acknowledge an error, when I am guilty of one, nor more desirous of atoning for. I have diligently sought the public welfare, and have endeavored to inculcate the same principles in all that are under me. These reflections will be a cordial to my mind as long as I am able to distinguish the ways of Providence being inscrutable, and the justice of it not to be scanned by the shallow eye of humanity, nor to be counteracted by the utmost efforts of human power or wisdom, resignation, and a man's intentions should be allowed in some respects to plead for his actions. I shall make it the most agreeable part of my duty to study merit, and reward the brave and deserving. By the all-powerful dispensations of Providence, I have been protected beyond all human probability and expectation, for I had 4 bullets through my coat, and 2 horses shot under me, yet escaped unhurt.